a couple of words about me. So I am a designer and researcher, and I'm currently working as a junior assistant professor at Politecnico di Milano, which is a university in the north of Italy, and I'm part of the design department. I'm keen about information visualization and data visualization, and I would say also creative coding. And I collaborated with Density Design since 2016, which is a research group part of our university, focusing on representation of complex phenomena, information visualization, data visualization, and digital methods. Since more recently, I joined another group here at Politecnico named Retail Experience Lab, where I'm researching about sustainability in fashion, and especially in retail. And beside work, I am the co-founder of a nonprofit association named Abilitiamo Autismo that is focusing on improving life quality of adult people with autism and their families. And today, I am here to present you RAWGraphs. So I'm really happy to be here, and I thanks Data and the organizers on Data and Design for the invitation. So RAWGraphs is a tool for visualizing data that is fully online, completely free and open source, and also privacy oriented, and is widely used in areas such as design, but also most widely for teaching visualization, since it is based on a very easy and accessible interface. Which makes it particularly useful for, let's say, non-technical audiences. So, for example, designers, as I am, artists, or more generally, like data enthusiasts. It is built on top of a library that I think that the most of us already know, that is called D3.js, which is a JavaScript library for producing visualizations in the browser or in a JavaScript environment. And it is focused on an approach that is based on vector graphics. We will see later why. Just before showing you a little bit the tool, I mentioned that it is completely free, and it's online and available to everybody thanks to the many people who support the project voluntarily. So there is, we set up a page on GitHub through which you can support the project with a one-time donation or with a monthly support. So while inviting you maybe to do the same, I also thanks the amount of people who already are supporting the project through this setup via GitHub, but also all the people who helped us during the crowdfunding campaign that we did a couple of years ago, and that helped us in developing the second version of the tool. So the tool was born in 2012, more or less, as a side project in Density Design by 4 people that were part of the lab that I mentioned here as the creators, so Giorgio, Matteo, Michele, and Giorgio Uboldi. And today is developed by 3, let's say, bigger realities. One is, of course, still Density Design, but then we have Studio Calibro that is funded by Giorgio Uboldi and Matteo Azzi, and they focus on the development of digital experience based on data. And then in Magic, which is a studio for software solution that is very capable of developing web products. The reason why RAWGraphs exists, we like to define it like this. So during our work and during especially our education, we realized that it is important to have open source tool around to practice, to learn how to do things, and also to carry out at least a portion of the workflow of visualization. So we can think about Gephi, OpenRefine, QGIS, D3, for example, Scriptographer, who is not existing anymore, unfortunately. And RAWGraphs want to join this group of tools that allows people to start doing visualization in a completely free and open source way. The approach that is behind the RAWGraphs is somehow related to this idea of supporting a creative process that takes place through the exploration and the presentation of data. So something that is related to tailoring visualization in order to make them intriguing in a way, but also compliant with the context in which a visualization will land. So, for example, newspaper we can see here, but we can think also about presentation, web pages, museum walls, whatever. This kind of visualization, we refer to them as like bespoke visualization. So some are the outcomes of an approach that is based on an authoring process that allows people with graphical skills to tailor visualization, achieving more expressive results. So we can think about improving legibility, setting graphic styles, color palettes, but also more intense modifications such as dissecting and combining visualization templates. We do this thanks to the possibility to produce SVG files that are designed to be then opened in vectographic software such as, for example, Inkscape or Adobe Illustrator, and to rework them according to the creative process and the idea that designers might have. It is not only limited to designer still, because the outcomes of the visualization process that we will see later in RAWGraphs is meant to produce artworks that are still working as visualization. So they have the legend, axes, titles, and all the things. So it is also possible to be used by casual people who wants to make visualizations. The creative possibilities that are, let's say, behind this approach is supported by the desire of having a lot of visual templates that we can start from. And in the current version of RAWGraphs, we have about 30 templates that are organized into different categories. And of course, for a designer who wants to make you a very original visualization, the more possibilities, the better it is, right? But still, there is also another opportunity that we will see later, that is the possibility to create and then load into RAWGraphs some custom charts. This is possible thanks to a new architecture that is there since the second version, that entails a core library in JavaScript that is born to modularize the entire things and to perform routines and actions such as data mapping, assigning data types to a dataset column, and setting color scales, for example, and other things that are commons to many different visualization templates. And then we have the charts that are exactly those templates I was mentioning before that we made available inside of the tool. And the things that you can see while you go to the website of RAWGraphs is just an interface made with React that combines the core library and the charts. I was mentioning before the custom charts. So beside the options that are available in the web interface, it is possible also to go and load a custom one. Maybe I can show you later, but it is just meant for just pressing the button and uploading a JS file that gives you access to a new visualization template. So what about the tool? I prepared this very quick demonstration live, so it's going to be also risky, I would say. And I decided to take this data set that is a data set about the Bechdel test that is an evaluation that we can run on movies to understand something, not completely, but something about the representation of women in movies. And it basically checks if a movie pass 3 criteria, which is the first one, if there are at least 2 named women in the movie, if they talk to each other, and if they talk about something that is not a man. And I also want to thank Alexandra for suggesting me this dataset for running the example. So if you want to go and use RAWGraphs, you can just go to the website rawgraphs.io and press the green button, use it now, that you can find it here. And immediately the software loads into a browser window. As you can see, the first things that you have to do is to load the data. The entire interface that you will see is somehow designed around this idea of explaining the process at least a very simple process of visualizing data, starting from, of course, what is data parsing. To upload data, we have different options, uploading files, trying data samples, loading data directly from specific endpoints. What we will do now is the easiest approach, that is copy-paste. So starting from this data that I previously prepared in a spreadsheet, I can just copy all of them and pasting them into RAWGraphs. So as you can see, the software loads our data, and immediately some parsing option appears. So we can set the separator for the data that we pasted. So for example, if it were like a comma separated values, we could set it. We can specify thousands and decimal separators, which is very convenient because at times we have softwares that can be set on different languages and different locales, which sometimes compromise the parsing of numbers, and many other options. Here we have a preview of our data, where we can also go and set data types. So for example, this ID, maybe I want to be a string, or this year, which is a 4-digit number. It is currently parsed as a number, but maybe I want to force it as a date, so a year. Once I've done this, a second section appears. That is the one for choosing a chart. And as you can see, we have many different options available. For each option, we have, of course, some categories specified down here, and also a preview with a brief description and the link to a tutorial page that is available on the RAWGraphs website. And there are many tutorials, one for each template, or at least one for each category of template. What we want to do today is to visualize the data with a stream graph to see how did movie, in the history, the movie that were released during the history fail or pass the Bechdel test, as I was mentioning before. So I select a stream graph, and as you can see here, another section appear, that is the one of data mapping, that is meant for mapping the columns of our data onto some variable that each chart present. Variables are different for each templates that we can have. So for example, if I select another one, I don't know, such as the box plot, you can see here variables are just 3: the y-axis, groups, color. And if I select another one, the scatter plot, for example, or the beesworm plot, there are different ones. So if you want to know more about them, you just go up here, go to tutorial, and you can have all the information. In our case, the example for today is prepared on a stream graph, so I'm going to select it. And as you can see, we have different options here. On the x-axis, I want to map a temporal dimension because I want to see the evolution on time. On the size, I want to map something that gives me a sense of the volume of items that are in a specific moment in time. And on streams, I want to map the different streams that are visible on the area chart. So in order to do so, I just have to drag and drop the different heading of my data dimensions, also we can call it. So I want to map the year on the x-axis, I want to map the value on the size, and I want to map the rating on the streams. And as you can see that I immediately have a preview of my chart. The series is meant, for reproducing the same chart multiple times according to some data categories. So I'll just give you an example, even if I didn't prepare it. But for example, if we want to focus on genres, we can have different timelines, different visualizations reproduced, one for each of the genres that are in the data set here. So comedy, drama, action, adventure, and so on. But now that I'm here, the last step for the data visualization process appear, and it is the one of customization of the chart. So we can select different width and height, so dimensions of the artboard. So for example, I like to design for presentation, so I can set simple HD ready artboard. As you can see, the artboard is larger than the one that is available in the preview, so I can scroll to visualize the entire chart, or I can even just, for the sake of this presentation, just reduce it a bit, maybe Yeah, let's do 1000, and it is working fine. Right, then we can set other options such as the background, margins. If we want to see a legend, which is very convenient, and it's something that it wasn't there in the first version. And you can also set like the dimension of the legend. It appears up here, and as you can see, it replicates the different categories that gives us the four streams that you can find here. Apart from the settings for the artboard, it is more or less similar for all the chart templates. We have many other options that depends on the different templates that we selected. In this case, for example, we can decide how to sort the streams. So, for example, in this case is none, which is a representation that is based on the order in which the data element appears in the data set. But also we can, for example, decide to change the order according to what it is like the most predominant value, or just reversing it according to the data set. In this case, I think that the easiest is the none, because we can see like from 0 out of 3, 1 out of 3, 2 out of 3, 3 out of 3. So it is some sort of increasing value, increasing logic. Curve type is the way in which the curve is designed. Probably here we have even more options that we need. I usually suggest students to just use the bump or to use the step, which are the most accurate representation of curves. And then, of course, also some setting in the vertical alignment of the area chart. So in this case, it's a regular area chart in which we can compare like the absolute values of the volumes of movies during in every year. But for example, we can decide to expand them and normalize it and see like in a proportion of 0 to 100% of the movies, how many of them are organizable into the different categories. Of course, we can show the y-axis, which is cutted here because we need to increase a little bit the margin on the left. So you can see it's an approach that it simplifies like the drawing of graphical elements, but still requires some manual working from the people who create the chart. Then there are also other, for example, silhouette, in which it tries to center down the different streams. In this case, I think we are just good with the none, which is the regular area chart. And then we have other options. For example, the colors. We can set like different color scales that are available in the tool. So just the one that is the most probably used around the visualization tool, that is the categorical 10, or we have others that are derived again from D3. But also what we can do is we can just go and set the colors according to our preferences, again to simplify the adaptation of the chart to a context of destination. So, for example, I'm happy with this. I have some options about labels here. I can add outlines if maybe the labels are not popping out enough, and I can decide like where they are drawn. Sometimes this option gives strange results. And finally, there is the export section, in which we can just go and export the chart. We have different options. One is the SVG, as I was mentioning before, to go and further edit the chart into Illustrator, Inkscape, Figma, and other software for intervening on vector graphics. We have a couple of raster options, but then we have the .RAWGraphs file that is I would call it proprietary, but it's a specific file that encapsulates all the actions that and all our selections that we performed up to now, to save our project and being able to open it back again or to share with a colleague. So if I download it, for example, and I just go on another session of RAWGraphs, maybe because I want to open it in after 1 week or a month, just go on Open Your Project, and I can just drag and drop our .RAWGraphs file. And as you can see, all our work is saved and still available in here. As I mentioned before, this tool is also based on I have 2 minutes. Yeah, it's also based on a privacy-focused approach, because even though the tool is online, what happens only happens within your browser, and there is no data exchange with any server. So the processing and the mapping and the rendering of the data only takes place in your machine, and therefore it allows you to know that your data never left your workstation. Last thing that I wanted to show you is how to import a custom chart. There are custom charts available in the RAWGraphs GitHub account. And basically, it's about downloading a JS file that you can upload in RAWGraphs. So for example, I need to close this here, and I have here prepared everything that I need. So I have this TSV file that I can upload also without opening it. This is some data that I prepared for the occasion, in which we have just 3 columns. One is a keyword, one is a category that is a master degree course, and some number. And here I just do load custom chart, and I can upload the JS file that I downloaded from GitHub following the instructions. And as you can see here, a new model appears. And at this point, I need to select it and just, I think it was like here, master courses, keywords, and then number of theses. And I don't have time to explain you what this model does, but basically, you can see that we extended the potentiality of the software using a specific, let's say, plugin that everybody can design and develop according to the guidelines that are available on GitHub. And maybe if you want, we can also jump in more during the question session. And I think that was all.